Cigar Time, brought to you by Cigar Cigars, with 7 convenient locations in Horsham, Colmar, Phoenixville, Oxford Valley, Reading, Westchester, and Freehold, New Jersey.
Welcome to Cigar Time, the friendly show that teaches you all about cigars. Of course, we have to know something about it too. We've been in the business a long, long time. Before we get too far down the road, we want to thank everybody who's listened to us on radio all these very many months, and we appreciate you coming over to WMCN and seeing us and hearing us on TV. I'd like to introduce our panel right now. To my right is Rob.
How you doing?
To his right is John, or also known affectionately as Uncle Max.
Hi, everybody.
To his right, fresh from the field, is Paul.
Hello.
To his right is Mike.
Hello, everybody.
To his right is Scott.
Hello.
A lot of people to the right here, you notice. To Scott's right is the lovely Miss Tia,
Hi, how are you?
who's also going to introduce our cigar for today.
Our first cigar is going to be the Romeo y Julieta, the Reserva Real. The wrapper is an Ecuadorian Connecticut, the binder is a Nicaraguan, and the filter is a Dominican and Nicaraguan blend. The sizes are a Bellicoso, Churchill, Robusto, Corona, Lonsdale, Toro, and my favorite size, 6x60 Gordo. The taste profile is rich, creamy with cedar, and sweet with a sweet spice.
Very
Sounds
nice.
like a good cigar.
It does sound like a good cigar. We'll see at the
Rob's
end.
favorite
Can't wait
cigar.
to smoke one.
Well,
Yeah.
that was very, very informative.
Thank you.
I appreciate, I'm sure the panel shares your
Absolutely.
acknowledgement.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Such
Tim.
great
Thank you, Tim.
pronunciation and wisdom,
Yes,
and it just went over really nice.
yes.
Okay.
Well, our first segment today is going to be how to cut and light a cigar. And I think we might as well do that. We might as well cut and light a cigar.
Falling apart here.
By the way, we are smoking the Romeo y Julieta
Yeah.
Reserva Real.
Yes, we are.
Yes,
We're
we
going to
are.
review it and talk about that later.
Commence
Now,
cutting
what I'm
devices.
doing is I'm going to just lick the cap
Oh, boy.
and then punch the cigar.
So now the next person that
So the
uses
next
that
person who
punch
uses
gets
that
your
punch
tongue.
gets your.
I will
Tongue.
disinfect it with alcohol, not a problem.
Thanks, T.
Sorry, John. I'm
From the mouths of babes,
I'm so used to
wine
having my
comes
own
gems.
punch. I'm sharing today.
You guys light it or not?
I just
Not yet.
let's cut it.
I'm lighting mine.
Thank
I'm
you.
V
You're welcome.
cutting mine.
So who's doing a guillotine cut?
I did one.
He did what I'm about to do.
And
I-
you did a V cut.
I use the V
I'm
cut.
doing a V
You
cut.
press the cigar into the
Yes, I
open
can open
jaws
the
of the
cutter.
guillotine,
Oh, yeah.
or guillotine as you Americans pronounce it. And you squeeze in one rapid motion, and off with the head, as they used to say in Napoleon's time.
And how much did you take off?
I brushed a little bit, and, lighter, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
will endeavor. First you toast the foot of the cigar. I'm going to let Uncle Max tell you why you should toast the foot of the cigar.
So that you don't get a quick inhale of and burn the end. You just want to get a little bit of char before you start drawing on it.
Max, why do you use a torch?
I use a torch because the wind will blow too much of a match and blow it out, and especially if you're outside.
Especially windy in here, too.
It is kind
That's
Yeah.
I
true.
like using a soft flame, even though it's kind of hard to do right now. But I like using a soft flame.
I did too. I think
it doesn't burn.
I think a torch changes
Yeah.
the flavor. of
I
the
think it
cigar.
does too. I think
I'm
it burns
convinced
too
it
much
does.
of the
Definitely
cigar.
does.
I think if it depends on how close you hold it. If you hold it far enough away, you'll get that nice white ash
I
at
feel
the
like I'm
end.
welding the cigar. Yeah, though. I feel
Why
like
not
it's-
use the wooden matches? I mean, I don't see.
Well, they
anyone
do.
using them.
Yeah, wooden
Yes,
matches
they
are
do.
fine.
If you're in a still
Why don't?
environment,
Yeah.
yeah, you can use wood.
But how come none of you use?
Or cedar strips.
Because we don't
Do
have any
we
on the
want
table.
to explain anything about the cutting, or did we each just do the cut and that's that?
Do you want to
Well, go
explain
ahead and
something?
explain
Yeah,
it.
explain.
Well, the biggest mistake people make when they're cutting a cigar is they cut too much off. That's especially true with the regular guillotine cutters. And what you really want to do is just cut off enough of the cap to let air flow through the cigar. One of the ways that people avoid cutting off too much is to use a V-cut, which doesn't take the end of the cigar off at all. It just clips a small amount, a little notch in the end of the cap.
And you can see there's a little V right there, or a cat's eye.
My argument to the V cutter, although I have from time to time used it, I like to open up the whole head of the cigar.
Yeah.
Because if you aim the smoke as you're drawing on it, the smoke tends to go down the middle of the tongue. If you get a
agree.
heavy cigar, a cigar with a lot of Lajero, you're gonna get that little burn on the back of the tongue.
I agree.
Whereas a clean guillotine cut puts the smoke all over your tongue and on both sides, so it tends to smooth it out, at least in this man's opinion.
I like the V cut better. I
It's
don't,
clean.
I don't like
clean.
to open up that much.
Well, it's a personal opinion.
And you get too much tobacco in your mouth.
Well, not from a good cigar like this.
Nah.
That's true, and Uncle Max prefers a punch cut, because I like that straight draw, straight back.
It's too
and
directional.
But as I smoke it, it will naturally open up a little more, and then as I get into the cigar, I get the full flavor through the entire palate.
I like using a punch cut because you don't get all the tobacco in your mouth. If you use a guillotine cut, you'll get a lot of tobacco, little bits and pieces on your tongue.
Well, I think if you use a guillotine, if you do it cleanly and quickly, I
I
think
always
most
see you
people,
guys pulling tobacco
they
out of your
hesitate.
mouth.
Not for me.
Not me.
They hesitate. The thing that'll disturb a cigar, two things. Use a dull blade and not give it the quick cut. Off with the head.
Otherwise, you're crushing it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then you get
Then you're
tobacco
bunching
in
it
your
and the
mouth.
little pieces are gonna fall out.
And you also crack what's left of the head, too.
Exactly.
Right.
Keep 'em on
People do
balance.
cut too slow.
Yeah,
But you don't have to worry about that with a punch.
I think it's a personal choice.
Everything about
absolutely.
cigar smoking is
Yeah,
personal.
I mean, it's very subjective. It's whatever floats your boat, whatever
Whatever you
cut
like
you
to
like,
do.
as long as you smoke.
As long as
There-
your smoke is right.
There is one kind of cutter that you can not lose, not misplace. It's with you everywhere you go, and it always
Your
works.
teeth.
Teeth.
Yeah.
Or your fingernails.
Assuming
Fingernails.
you have them.
Assuming you have teeth. Yes. Well, in your case, that's a big assumption.
Now, this is spoken by a man
Yeah.
who smokes how many a day?
Me, 12. 12 a day for 40 years.
But not all 7 days.
Well, sometimes on the weekend I smoke a little more.
Wow.
Is it true you get up, I
That's
heard you
crazy.
say once, you get up at 1 o'clock in the morning and have a cigar?
Between 1 and 1:30 every morning, I get up, I have a cigar, a glass of wine, I go out on my deck, I contemplate the stars, I think shallow thoughts, and then I go right back to sleep.
You do.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm usually up till 1, still smoking a cigar. I
Yeah,
don't
right,
get up.
exactly.
I go to sleep around 11, and I wake back up at 1 to have a cigar.
Well, I think we covered cutting pretty much.
Do we want to talk
Sharply.
about lighting or not?
Well,
We
I
did.
think we did talk about lighting.
talked
Where were
about
you
toasting.
at?
Yeah.
We talked about
The
Smoking
toasting.
comparison
I was
between
here.
the jet torch and the natural flame.
Okay.
I think it's.
Well, the other, actually, one thing we didn't talk about is I don't like letting the flame actually hit the cigar. I like
You hold it underneath.
rotating it underneath. There's
Just let
plenty
the
of
on
heat
in.
get there.
There's plenty of heat to light the cigar. I mean, you'll see the flames, and the flame never even hits the cigar.
One
And it'll
time,
catch fire.
if you ever think about this, most people have toasted marshmallows in a fire,
Yeah.
and you're toasting. Think about toasting a marshmallow. If you put the marshmallow right in the flame, it catches on fire and burns. If you're toasting it, you hold it away and let the heat toast it. You're doing the same thing when you light the cigar. You're toasting it, so you don't want it right in that flame.
Good point.
Well, all this has been very, very informative, and I think our viewers at home have hopefully learned a lot from this. But now it's time to tell people who's bringing this show to you. This show is brought to you by Cigar Cigars with 7 convenient locations
Yay.
around the Delaware Valley. The stores are located in
Horsham, Colmar, Phoenixville,
Valley.
Oxford Valley,
Reading.
Westchester.
Reading.
Did we leave one out?
Freehold, New Jersey.
Jersey.
Almost forgot
You say
that
Horsham?
one.
7
Yes,
stores.
I said
Sorry
Who's
about
at
that.
Kumar?
I just said Colmar.
Now, if you like this show and would like to learn a lot more about Cigar Cigars, just go to our website at cccigars.com.
That's
WMCN.com. Oh boy.
And we'll appreciate your patronage. And on the website, there'll be a little box you can click off, and please send us your comments, criticism, suggestions, anything you want to recommend to us or critique. We're open to it. Are we not open to it? We
Absolutely.
are.
Open to
Yeah.
everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Oh, don't forget, tell them to sign
Definitely
up for
open.
Facebook and our email list.
And our
Oh,
emails.
yeah. You can do it all that on the website. Sign up for Facebook, sign up for Twitter. What else we got?
Check out our Hottie page.
Check out our Hottie page. Oh, we got, and Particularly, check out the Super Savers and Max Packs. A lot of money to be saved in those. Okay, I think this is the part of the show where we go to Paul in the field.
Oh, no.
And Paul is going to start out, since this is our first episode, he's going to start out with the beginning of the seed process. So, Paul, take it away.
Okay. The first thing you probably ought to know is that tobacco seeds are tiny. They're smaller than a grain of sand. They're about a third of the size of a grain of sand. So a fistful of tobacco seeds is actually a huge number. Now, once the seed is selected, what's done with the seed is they're put in little mesh holders with the soil in them, a little soil medium, just like you would do flats of any plant. And they're planted in enormous quantities. A typical greenhouse on a tobacco plantation will have about 250,000 baby plants under the greenhouse. Now that only takes about 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks you have small shoots, small plants, and it's time to put them in the ground.
How big do they get when it's time to do that?
It's about that big.
Small, yeah.
About how high? About like 5 inches?
Not even.
Not even?
No, they're very small when you put them in the ground. Once they're in the ground, they grow extraordinarily fast. Tobacco is one of the hungriest plants there is. So within a couple of weeks, that plant will be a foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
Within a month, it's going to be between 2 and 3 feet tall. And by the time you get to 3 months out, that plant will be 6 feet high and ready to start. That's how fast they grow. You can harvest them after only 90 days.
I wish I grew that fast.
That's almost fast enough to see it grow.
Well, if you wanted to sit out in the field all the time, which I love to do, you can sit out.
Out in the field.
That's my most productive time, sitting out in the field watching the plants grow.
I thought it was watching snow melt.
Well, that too. But that doesn't happen much in Ecuador unless you go way up in the
Way up in
mountains.
the air.
It's like
Way up.
watching golf.
That's more exciting than watching golf.
It's like watching women's basketball.
Once it's
I
time
like
to
women's
harvest
basketball.
once it's time to harvest the tobacco, you don't just pick the plant, and you don't even just pick the leaves off the plant. The plant grows with pairs of leaves, usually 6 or 8 pairs up the stalk of the plant. And what you do is you pick 2 leaves off the bottom of the plant, you wait a few days, you pick 2 more leaves, you wait a few days because you don't want to shock the plant. And eventually you work your way all the way up to the top. Now you have a whole lot of tobacco, and it's sorted by where on the plant it came from.
And which area is called what, Paul?
We're going to discuss that in a different episode.
Oh,
Gotta have a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But what happens next with the tobacco is they tie usually 22 leaves at a time together with a piece of string or a little bit of nylon, and that's called a hand of tobacco. The hands are then tied to bamboo poles, and those poles are about 40 feet long. So 2 guys will then carry the poles into the aging barn where the tobacco will hang and dry and cure a little bit.
Rob,
This
I
is-
actually saw Rob do that.
I
climbed-
I
you
climbed all the way
climbed
to
up
the
50
top.
feet?
Yeah.
When we were in Honduras?
Yeah, it was,
The,
it was a lot
the
of fun.
barns are very tall,
And very
and-
hot at the top.
very hot at the top, and it's kind of interesting because there are little trap doors all over the walls of the barns, and depending on which direction the wind is blowing in, they'll open or close different ones of those trap doors to make sure the air circulates just the right way inside the curing barn. But those poles have to be rotated every day. So if you had 20 rolls of these poles lined up all the way to the ceiling, each day you'd have to take the pole from the bottom and move it to the top and move all the other poles down, so that over the course of time, the tobacco would be hanging at all those different heights with the different air and the different temperatures at each one. Very labor intensive.
Sounds like it.
After between 45 and 60 days, that tobacco that's been hanging in the barn will have lost all of its chlorophyll. It will no longer be green. It'll be a beautiful silky brown. And it's then time to take the tobacco out of the curing barn and pile it up for fermentation. Now, we're not going to go into fermentation until next time. But it's important to know that that tobacco gets piled up into enormous piles, 2,500 pounds each.
And Rob, you carried one of those piles too.
Yeah, by myself.
Absolutely.
Huh?
Oh, you weren't there?
It was 2,500 pounds.
You had a donkey with you, right? Wasn't
He
Scott there?
would. He was afraid to climb
Was
to the
he?
top.
I
Yeah.
was afraid of falling.
Chicken.
One of
Actually, I
one
wasn't
of
afraid of falling. I was afraid of hitting the ground.
one of those 2,500-pound piles would make enough cigars for me to smoke in a day.
I was about to say, I don't think so.
Well, Paul, that was very, very informative, and I, for one, can't wait till our next episode so you could explain a little bit more about this whole process.
Well, thank you. I'm
You're
looking
very-
forward to it.
Very welcome.
As are we all.
I think it's now time for us to review the Romeo y Julieta
Yay.
Reserva Real.
I think Rob should start first.
Yeah.
This is his
What
favorite.
Rob to start?
Favorite cigar.
I will say this about Rob. He does religiously smoke one of these first things
What,
in the
every
morning.
day, right?
Every
Every day.
single
Every day.
This is one of my favorite cigars in the store. It's got a great mild taste. It's got a nice spicy, cedary taste to it. Almost vanilla to my palate. It burns perfectly. It's got a great wrapper. It tastes fantastic. I smoke one every day. First thing I do when I walk in the morning, before I even get something to drink, I light one of these up. I think it's a perfect cigar.
Max?
So,
I love this cigar. I think it's a great smoke. I love the look. I love the feel. The taste in the mouth is absolutely phenomenal. And as you can see, I'm smoking a Lonsdale. I like a longer, thinner cigar early in the day. And then I'll just enjoy this at least for another 20, 30 minutes.
Mr.
Nice.
Power Hitter?
Well, funny you should say that. This is one of the milder cigars out there, and yet it's got enough flavor and complexity to be interesting and a real pleasure to smoke.
absolutely.
Yeah. Mike?
And if you've listened to the radio show, you know I'm on a milder smoker. I like milder cigars, and this is perfect cigar. It's got great taste. It's mild, smooth, it's everything that I like in a cigar. So this is one of my favorite cigars too.
Scott?
There's nothing wrong with this cigar. It's creamy. It's got some of that sweet spice that Tia described earlier. It's a fantastic cigar, especially in the morning.
I'm going to be the bearer of bad news.
Oh.
I think it has a little bit too much spice. It's overpowering my mouth, even going a little bit up in my nose, the spicy flavor. So it just turns me off. I don't like it like that. I like a little bit medium body with a sweet Maduro flavor.
Well,
So
what about
this
the
one,
wrapper?
this
Wow.
one,
Yikes.
Scott, did you,
that's
did you
terrible.
ask about the
I guess
wrapper?
it's my turn.
Throw it
eh?
out.
It's terrible.
I have to follow this now. Well, you know, it is a wonderful cigar in spite of what certain people say about it. It's got a beautiful Connecticut wrapper. It's got the right complexity for an all-day smoke. This cigar can be smoked at any time. And as those who listen to us on the radio know, that I have this, you know, price, value, quality quotient. And this rings all the bells. It's modestly, I should say, priced. It's great quality, well-constructed, beautiful-looking cigar. And of course, it has a great heritage to it, Romeo y Julieta. So, you know, I love this cigar. So I guess we're time to
we're
give
going to rate it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's
Yeah.
time to put a number on it. Give me a chance here.
Can I go first?
By the way,
I'm so anxious.
I want everybody to understand, this is our first TV show. And
We don't
although
know
you
what
may
we're doing.
think it, none of us are professional actors. Matter of fact,
One of us are.
Forgot about Rob.
some of us have been told that we have faces for radio, so I won't go
Rob's a
further.
professional.
Rob is a professional.
Oh, I forgot. Rob is, yes, he has been a star of many, many movies.
Yeah.
And is on a first-name
I wouldn't say
basis
many.
with most of the people in the Internet Movie Database. So.
Yeah, sure.
And this brings,
And he's infamous. I mean,
Thank
he's
you.
infamous.
Thanks, Mike.
Unfazed.
All right, we'll start with the, I don't know why we should start with her
Lovely
on
Tia.
this one, but
Lovely
we're going to start with the lovely Miss Tia on the rating.
2.5.
Ooh.
We should,
That's
actually, before we continue rating, we should explain that this is on the scale of 1 to 5.
Yes,
not the traditional
1 to
10.
5 cigars. So I give it a 2.5.
I like the cigar a lot. I would give it a 4.25.
Mike?
I'm giving it a 4.75.
Ooh, wow.
Very
I'll
good.
go
Always gotta go
4.
high.
I'll
Paul?
go.
He likes it.
I'd give it a straight 4, a solid 4.
I'll give it a 4.5.
I'm with Mike, 475.
Yeah, as for me, I mean, it just rings too many bells for me. I go with the 475. It's a great cigar.
You know, I realized as we were going through these ratings that all of Philadelphia is starting to realize is that they must be jealous. We all talked about the first thing we do was come into work. We light a cigar.
Yeah.
Who gets to do
Yeah,
that?
who likes a
Yeah,
cigar?
but
for
most
work?
of us still have to drive to work, so
Yeah.
it isn't all just fun.
Well, he
We have
smokes
to
on his work
drive,
drive to
then we
work.
have to walk up some steps and stuff.
It's hard work.
It's
Do you
hard
know?
work.
Do you know how they got the name Romeo and Julieta?
I'm going to guess Shakespeare had
It
something to
is
do with it.
Shakespeare. That's correct. The torcedores are the people
Right.
who talk to the rollers
That's the
while
lector.
they're rolling.
The
The
lector,
lector.
lector.
But they're also called
Torcedores are the
torcedores.
No,
rollers.
torcedores are the rollers.
I thought they were the lectors.
No, the lectors are the ones that
Lector
talk.
is the
I
one
saw it
who-
in Cuba.
Well, there
many
you go. There
times.
goes my credibility. But anyway,
He's our actor.
they're
What
one of their,
These are professionals.
yeah,
Yeah, but unless
one of their
they-
favorite stories was Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. So they named
Even
the
though
cigar
the story itself is not a real happy story.
It is not. That is true.
It's kind of a sad story, actually.
It is.
But unlike the real story, this is not a sad story at all. And they make a love story, ironically.
They do. Tia's
That's
smoking
what
it.
Tia's
Well,
smoking.
Yes, I'm
that's what
smoking
Tia
my
put
love
out.
Tia is
story.
not
That's
smoking.
what Tia put out.
By the way, I don't know if anybody noticed how she put it out. I know you did it for
Yeah.
dramatic effect.
I
but
did it for dramatic effect.
Do not,
Yes.
Do not ever
Do
do
not
that.
Do not
that.
just always
Do not
place it
ever do
just let it.
in the yes.
Let it
gently
put
put
itself out.
Let it go out.
But
That-
I had to,
You-
smash it.
You mentioned about the, I just want to elaborate, you mentioned the beautiful Connecticut wrapper on this, and I think it's worth knowing that this is not a Connecticut wrapper.
Ecuadorian.
This is an
Well,
Ecuadorian
yeah,
Ecuadorian
Connecticut.
Connecticut.
But
It's
I
got
call
that
it-
There's a
lovely
different. There's a
Connecticut
difference.
shade.
It's a different taste.
Paul,
Totally
It is a
taste.
different taste.
Paul has
That's
a
why I
real
don't like
affinity
it.
to real
I-
affinity to Ecuador. Anytime he gets to point it out, he will do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but it's an Ecuadorian Connecticut wrapper.
Thank you.
But that's important because
It didn't come in
Ecuador,
the Connecticut Valley.
that's not why it's important. It's important because Ecuadorian Connecticut is less fragile
Yeah.
than Connecticut, and it has a little bit less of a grassy taste to it, which is why today 80% of the Connecticut wrappers on cigars come from Ecuador.
Well, that's why you're on the
That
panel.
was a
Yeah.
fun
Yeah,
fact.
Because
fun
you're,
facts.
you're our man in the field.
Feel.
That's it.
The soil
put it in
in
the
Ecuador, I think Paul would agree, is more nutrient rich
Volcanoes
because
all
of
over.
the
Yeah,
because of the
volcanic ash,
volcanic soil that it's come from.
Not too many volcanoes in Connecticut.
Not anymore.
Not lately.
There
But it
were.
is a valley.
It is a valley.
But
So there's water.
Water, nutrients roll down the hills. And
no,
into the
but
fields.
the original soil from Connecticut was when the
Glaciers?
the plates
The
were
tectonic
moving
plates.
and it smashed into the North American continent, and that created the
Long Island.
mountains, among other things. The mountain range that runs from Canada.
Did you take
Appalachian
pictures of
Mountains?
this
Yes.
when you were there? Did you-
Yes, I
were
was
there when it
there.
You
happened?
saw the whole thing happen.
No, I mean when it happened.
Yes, of course. But that's what created the soil over many millennia.
Wow, that's very
Millennia.
impressive.
Yeah.
I thank you very much for that long-winded explanation of things.
Are we surprised it got that way?
I kind of forgot where we are here anymore.
I was over here sleeping.
I'm on this like this travel guide
All
here.
right.
Totally uncalled for, man.
Hey, I just want to take a minute, and since this show will be airing late in October, I want to thank all of you who did participate in our Big Ash Bash held on the 12th. It was a tremendous turnout. There were tremendous cigars given out and smoked, tons of swag, tons of raffle prizes, and we're looking to do it even bigger and better next year.
Don't forget our cigar babes.
Oh,
yeah.
well, why don't you tell everybody about our cigar babe?
Well, we just hired 3 new cigar babes. You can always see them at the Colmar store, Horsham store, maybe sometimes Phoenixville and
Events.
Westchester.
And events.
Definitely at events.
The
They
hot
will-
Tiets.
The hot TS. They will always be there. They'll be cutting, lighting your cigar, pouring your drinks, making sure your ashtrays are empty, giving you great conversation. So come down to our stores and check it out.
Are
You
these
mean they're not coming to
the,
New
the
Jersey
same
at all?
girls who'll be wearing those uniforms you picked out that are
Oh, wait
about
till
this
you
long?
see the uniforms.
Oh, my
Gorgeous.
God.
They're about this long, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Top half
about
only.
that.
Yeah.
And
Family show.
Isn't one of the one gals about 6'2"?
Yeah, she's 6'1".
Guys, there's kids in the audience. Look into
Yeah.
the
This
cigars.
is definitely
Wait,
a
if
family
you-
hour.
If
right?
you're
Oh,
under
it's a
18,
family
you
hour
can't
with
watch
You
cigars.
can't watch this. This is promoting smoking. Are you
Well,
really joking?
No, we're not.
He's not joking.
Once again, this is all good information, and you know, since this is all new to us, it's also new to our audience.
Yes.
So I
That is
think
true.
in our closing few minutes, I think we ought to talk about where our stores are, the hours of our stores, and talk about the lounges. I think Scott would be a good person to talk about.
I'll start off with the hours. Colmar's never closed.
That's basically true.
Technically, we
Yeah.
open at 8 in the morning, and we close at 9, but
Well, 9
we're
at
all-
night,
you-
I guess.
9 at night, and
Yeah.
we're always, there's always somebody there till 10. And we have a huge members lounge with 24-hour access. In fact, most of our stores have lounges with 24-hour access, and it's located on 309.
And Horsham opens at 6 o'clock in the
6 in the
morning.
morning, yeah.
You had to beat me.
6
Yeah.
o'clock in the
Yeah.
morning. Has been doing that for years and years and years.
Before Colmar even opened.
Yeah.
That's true.
The breakfast club happens right here.
Yeah, the
Yes, it
Cigar
does.
Cigars Breakfast Club.
That's true. We
Most
have
of-
2 shifts.
Yeah, that's true. Most of our stores are open from 10 in the morning till 8 or 9 at night, and shorter hours on Sunday, 11 to 5 in most of the areas. And
Football season here, and we
football
have-
season's here, the lounges stay open for football games and the like, and we really would like to see you drop in. Give us a shot. Try us out. We've been around a long, long time, but not all of you have been in one of the Cigar stores. So please, give us a shout out, check our webpage, kind of take a look and see what we got, and you'll be happy you did.
And the people that work, the greatest thing about the lounges are the people. I mean, we've got the
Oh, yeah.
customers really make it. I mean, it's just a really, really fun bunch of people. And then
Unlike
there's-
us.
Unlike,
Oh, yeah.
well, I'll get to us. One of the things that I think we pride ourselves on is we're very honest with the customers. If somebody specifically asks us about a cigar, we will give them the honest truth, and as
Yeah,
Tia
whether we like 'em or
just-
not, yeah.
we will tell you the truth. We are not going to try to sell you something that you don't want. And most of our people are very educated, and they know a lot about cigars.
Except for Rob, no. I'm just playing.
Yeah. That's not a fact.
That is not
Well,
a fact.
looking at the old clock on the desk, it's getting pretty close to saying goodbye. This has been a blast. We've had a great time.
Woohoo.
We're hoping you'll tune in every Tuesday night at 7:30, following Community with Chevy Chase. Give them a plug, guess they need it. And I think one by one, we ought to kind of say goodbye. So, on behalf of the panel, which will say goodbye themselves, let's go around the table.
Bye-bye for now.
Adios.
See everybody next week.
Smoke often and smoke happy.
Drive safely, be well, and remember, it's just another beautiful day in paradise.
Ciao, everybody.
On behalf of Cigar Cigars, thank you for viewing, and once again, please go to our website at cccigars.com. That's
CCCigars.com.
Thank you.
Cigar Time, brought to you by Cigar Cigars, with 7 convenient locations in Horsham, Colmar, Phoenixville, Oxford Valley, Reading, Westchester, and Freehold, New Jersey.